So a lot of people, they get caught up in things that are tough and they give up. It may be something that they really want, but the minute things start to get tight, they get confined, a little bit restricted. It starts making you sweat a little bit. A lot of people quit. I know, I've been there a lot myself. And a lot of that has to do with our subconscious mind and our subconscious world. And it's with that subconscious world, I want to talk to you a minute about the law of subconscious. The law of subconscious basically states that your subconscious mind it acts automatically based on your previous self-molded thoughts, emotions, and actions. Basically, it's using the blueprint that you've laid out time after time after time to kind of keep your body going. Your subconscious mind will make your own words for you. It will make your own emotions. And it's those emotions that parallel past events that you've had. Perhaps you've said something to somebody and you went, "Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to say it. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to say it like that." Or a situation came up and your first thought in your head was maybe one that you weren't proud of and you had to say, "Oh, no, not that. This is what I want to do." Those are part of a reaction that's created by your subconscious mind based on a certain way maybe you've lived your life or a certain environment that you've worked in all these years. Or perhaps for an example, let's say that you take this job and it's a really negative work environment. The people are always, negative and bitter. And then when you leave that job and you go to another one where people are positive, you instantaneously, you're not going there. And you're like, "Oh my God, this place is so amazing," and yet I keep worrying that things are going to happen. It's because that worry is brought on by your subconscious mind. It's used to all of these weeks, months, possibly years that you were at this other place that was so negative and bitter. And your mind is automatically defaulting to that environment. It's trying to protect you. But the subconscious mind, you've got to realize it makes a million decisions a second. Millions of decisions a second. And those decisions made by the subconscious mind are what keep each of us at our specific state that we're in right now. I use myself for example. There was a time when I was too afraid to make a video. For probably 5 years, guys, I put that off. I wouldn't do it. I used to say, "Oh, I'm not going to be any good. I can't do this." And for those 5 years, my subconscious mind kept reiterating that. "You can't do this. You're no good. You can't speak. You just don't have the skill to do it." And then one day, I did it. Now, I'm not going to come out here and I'm not going to say I'm the best at this. I'm not going to say I'm awesome. I'm not going to say I have all the tools and the capital to do all of this cool stuff. But what I can do is I can sit down. I can look at you through this camera lens and I can talk to you the best I can right now in my life and know that I'll get better. I had to work at it. I had to change my subconscious to where my subconscious mind no longer says I can't do it. It says, "Let's sit down and let's try to do the best we can and make this one better than the last one." Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's the growth process that we've got to get our minds into so that we can create a powerful and positive and impactful subconscious mind. And one story that comes to mind is a story I've heard before. A couple of years ago I heard this story and it's just really stuck with me. The story is about a young man who's grew up in a very wealthy family. He's very, very spoiled. Basically to the point, if you can imagine in your mind, never had to want for anything. The second he requested it, it was given to me. Well, then came time for the kid to go off to college. He went to college. He had his tuition completely paid. He didn't have to get a job. He had a brand new car. He had every brand new book, every brand new piece of equipment for his college life. Everything was paid for. All he had to do was go to class, study, pass, and graduate. And then when he graduated, his father went out and got him a new car. Well, at the kid's college graduation, the kid got upset. He said, "That's the car you got me? Well, I don't want that car. I want this new car that's out here like this. I want this car because, you know, I'm going to go into business and I want to look the part." He wouldn't take the car from his dad. And that made his dad realize no matter how much money they had, Dad realized that he'd done something wrong. But the kid came up to his dad and his mom one day and he said, "Dad, can you and Mom help me get a job? You guys have a lot of pull in the business world." So they said, "Okay, you're our son. We'll help you." So they got this kid a job, starting level at this enterprise, this business. And he worked for about 15 months. And after about 15 months, this kid didn't get along with nobody, wasn't a very good team player, wasn't very respectful, barely respected his boss because he thought he was entitled. After 15 months, boss calls him in and says, "Look, I gotta let you go. And, you know, you're not a team player, you're not getting along, gotta let you go." So the kid gets upset. He comes back to his mom and dad and he says, "I can't believe they fired me. You gotta get me another job." So the parents said, okay. They went out, they got this kid another job. And, you know, he didn't really get along. He did try to put a little more effort in, but he still was a loner. He didn't want to get along with anybody. And about 15 months later, or 15 weeks, boss calls him in, says, "I gotta let you go." So the kid is just fired up, mad. He says, "I can't believe it." He said, "You know what? I tried putting in a little effort and they still fired me. You got to get me another job." So mom and dad do this again. And this next time, this kid, who's kind of becoming more of an adult now, starts working a little harder and says, "Well, I'm going to show them. I'm going to put my time into it and I'm going to try to get along." He was trying to get along, trying to be civil, but you could still tell that, you know, he was really self-centered. He was only pretending. So after 15 weeks, boss calls him in and he says, "Let me guess, you're going to fire me." The boss said, "Yeah." So this happened again for a 5th time. But the 6th time, something funny happened. The 6th time, parents got this kid a job. He actually went in and started working hard, started getting along with people, started helping other people, started changing his mindset on how things ran. But unfortunately, you guessed it, 15 weeks later, the boss let him go. And he said, "I just don't know what I'm doing." He said, "Yeah, I can understand, you know, a couple years ago, you know, I was this, you know, I thought I was entitled and I thought I had all this." But he said, "Man, I'm going to tell you the truth." He said, "This time I was working, I was hard, and, you know, I tried to get along with people and I just started caring about people and I started putting people under me and really caring about them and not just pretending." And the bosses, but that was the deal. And then now a young man looks at the boss and he says, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, when your parents convinced me to hire you, we really didn't have a place for you, but they said it would be good for you, but we had to let you go after 15 weeks. That was the promise that I made your parents." So the kid's so upset. He runs home. He just blows up at his parents, and he says, I can't believe you tricked me like this. You hurt me. I don't want anything to do with you. So this time, he storms out, doesn't see his parents. He goes and gets his own job himself, becomes the best worker in that company, gets married, and one night he's talking to his wife, and he opens up to his wife about how cruel his parents were, how years they tricked him, and they gave him all this stuff, and then they just dumped him out with all this deceit. And his wife looked at him and she said, what if your parents were helping you become the worker you are today and not be so selfish? The minute his wife asked him that question, everything inside went up in smoke. He could not believe what he had ignored all these years. It had been a couple years since he'd seen his parents, and he went home, back to his home. He knocked on the door, and he stood in the doorway and he asked his parents, he says, is it true? Those years that I spent getting fired, did you do that to make me a better person? His parents both broke down crying, and they admitted they had raised him to become so selfish for so long that it was the best gift they could give him to undo the upbringing they'd given him. They talked about how they saw him with every job start to work harder and become more diligent and more kind-hearted and more respectful of people. Now he's the kind of guy that everybody respects him. They care about him. He cares about them. He's earned promotions because of his heart and his mind. But what the parents did all those years was they helped reprogram their son's subconscious mind. Just like we, maybe not necessarily, we don't have to be greedy, we don't have to be all deserving. It could be a completely different emotion, but the fact of the matter is, it takes the time over and over, changing our everyday routines to reprogram our subconscious mind. Because when you start to change your mind, one fact's going to come into play. You will only become a better person through adversity. I take myself as an example. One of the things I enjoy doing is I enjoy speaking. I enjoy speaking to junior high kids and high school kids and adults and inspiring them. But I tell you, every time I go speak, I get nervous. I get absolutely terrified because of an old mindset. But then once I'm there and the minute I start, poof, it's gone. Whether I sink or swim, whether I give one of the best speeches of my life, or I just give something that is a good effort, both are positive. Neither would be possible if I didn't change my subconscious to know I'm gonna go do this. You might as well quit worrying about it the minute I start, because I'm gonna do it. And the truth is that your subconscious mind is your subconscious mind sees the world in a different way. And how we see the world is how we interpret it. If we can change how we interpret what we see, we then change the world that we see. It reminds me of a quote that Wayne Dyer once said: change the way you look at things. Things you look at change. And part of the biggest thing about the law of subconscious is it's not overnight, guys. It's not going to just bam, here it is. But with hard work, diligence, and determination to take your life to that next level, there's nothing you can't do in the course of changing it. You just got to keep at it. I'm not the same guy that I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but I went out there and I made it happen, and so can you. So just remember, like the college student that eventually became a real man through reprogramming his subconscious with the help of his parents. So can you. You don't have to have others help. You just have to have it right here. Help yourself, and everything will work out. Take it to the next level. Own your subconscious. See you guys.